Good evening. I'm Mayor Pro Tem Figueroa, and I'm calling the regular meeting of the University Place City Council for Monday, April the 3rd, 2023 to order. So we'll start with City Clerk calling the roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Keel. Councilmember Wood.
Councilmember Wood, present.
Councilmember McCluskey.
Councilmember McCluskey here.
Councilmember Fleming.
Councilmember Fleming here.
Councilmember Belisi is excused. Mayor Pro Tem Figueroa.
Present.
Mayor Worthington is also excused. Mayor Pro Tem, you have a quorum.
Thank you. With that, would Councilmember Wood give us the honor to do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Wood. So I'd like to call for a motion to approve the agenda.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any objections to approving the agenda as amended? Are hearing none, and I don't hear any. Anybody up there, Denise, excuse me, council members McCluskey and Keel, any objections?
No objection.
Okay.
No objection from me. Thank you.
Okay, then the agenda is approved. With that, public comments for tonight is we're putting up a shot of the public comment direction on the screen. And for those that are the viewing public and would like to call in, the instructions are on the screen. Please review those and call in if you like. In the meantime, I don't see any members of the public present tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and City Clerk, is there anybody on the phone or waiting to call in?
I don't see anyone on the phone.
Okay, nobody on the calling in. So with this, the public comment is closed. Consent agenda. I'd like to have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any objections to approving the consent agenda? I hear none. The motion passes. Thank you. City Manager, now it's time for the City Manager and Council comments and reports, and we'll start with the City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And also, we've got engineering. We have Nuri Ajala here is going to present an update on capital projects that's under works from the engineering department.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. And good evening, Mr. Pro Tem, council members. I'm Nuri Ajlar. I'm the city engineer for the City of University Place. And I'm here to give you a quick update on our capital improvements project.
Will you do me a favor and move that mic close
sure.
to you so that it really comes out?
Better
Thank you.
now?
Yep.
Would you like me to start
Much
over?
better.
Okay. Well, thank you again. And Amanda, would you please pull up the map? I would like to go through. And also, you should have hard copies of our current CIP workload map. I don't know if you have it. Looks like this on the screen. And then also have a spreadsheet, should be a PDF format, talks about all the projects. We have like 18 of them listed.
I think we have it.
You have it?
No, you've got this, which I think is what you're close to what you're talking about.
Maybe.
Give us a few seconds. Sure. Okay? And we'll ask our city clerk if she can guide us where it's at. Oh, it's the, you're right, but the yellow sheet is not here. Is this, oh, it's the same thing, it's not yellow.
Okay, got it.
Okay, we're all good, thank you.
Okay, great. I'm just going to go ahead and start from the Excel spreadsheet you have in front of you. I have listed 18 projects and I'm just going to go with the numerical order. The first project we have on the map is number 1, Chambers Creek Road, Chambers Lane, Phase 1. And I'm sure if you guys drive by the area, the project is under construction. We poured more than 50% of the curb gutter sidewalk, and most of the electrical and irrigation work is complete. And the contractor
I'm
is
going to have
getting
to break, you need to move that mic up.
I'm sorry,
please.
yes.
Thank you.
All right, I'll just put it over here.
And it's also good for the public. Sometimes people have
Sure.
heard that they can't hear some of the presentations.
Okay, great. What I was saying is the Chambers Creek Road project, we already poured more than 50% of the curb gutter sidewalk, and the contractor is getting ready to finish up the rest of the project. And the second project we have on our list is the Grandview Drive overlay. We recently overlaid the entire street from 48th Street West to 62nd Street Court West, and the contractor is getting ready to raise all the utilities to the surface. It's going to be complete within a week or two. And then the third project we have is 67th Avenue improvements. And actually, we have all these projects, most of them are grant-funded, federal-funded projects. And we have these projects in phases, like the 67th Avenue improvements as known as the Phase 1. And we have this entire stretch on 67th. Right-of-way work is underway. And then also we have 2 different projects on the same stretch, 67th Avenue Phase 1 and also 67th Avenue Phase 2. And on both of the projects, we have the right-of-way work underway.
Before you proceed, I have a council member that has a question for you. I believe that's what you, right?
Sure.
Councilmember Fleming?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Yuri, could you elaborate on the 67th Street project? What exactly are we doing there?
67th Avenue improvements, we are doing curb gutter, sidewalk, planter strip, landscaping, street lights, and necessary stormwater improvements, storm drainage improvements, along with retaining walls if it's necessary.
So we're doing this project, is there any hope or prayer of consideration of a passing lane somewhere along that street? And I ask that question because there isn't a day that goes by that people get extremely impatient behind a very slow driver on that road, and so they
Okay.
start passing in the median to get around them,
Okay.
which to me is kind of, not kind of, it's flat out unsafe, but people just, you know, it's I think it's a combination of impatience and road rage because it's a very long stretch of road and there is nowhere to go when you get behind a very slow driver.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
We had the same problem on 67th, as same problem on Sunset and Bridgeport, and on also Chambers Creek Road. When we have those two-way left turn lanes, people use that area as a passing lane. But we will be installing some landscaping islands, so hopefully that's just gonna put a stop on those people utilizing that middle two-way left turn lane as a passing lane.
I'm more concerned about when we eliminate that just, we're in a sense adding a little fuel to the fire, because now if they have nowhere to go, then something eventually will happen to somebody who just, for whatever reason, just drives slow, and you're tying up a whole line of traffic. I don't think there's a lot of patience out there, and we see more and more and more road rage going on. When we make those modifications in the road,
Sure.
and we don't take that into account, I think we're adding to the problem versus resolving the problem.
Well,
So it's just something to process.
sure, we'll think about that. We'll just consider that during the design, just like the Grandview. We used to have that Grandview huge speed race area before we did all the improvements. Okay, yeah, we'll make sure we'll just keep that into consideration during the design.
You know, the difference, and quite honestly, the difference between 67th and Grandview, 67th is a throughfare for traffic going through University Place like Bridgeport Way. In fact, 67th is supposed to offload Bridgeport Way when you're going north-south.
Okay.
So instead of solving the bottleneck, I'm just saying if there's a way to mitigate that so we don't add to the bottleneck, especially when we're putting more traffic on the road with the developments that are going in
Sure.
along 67th. It just, I think, it would be to our benefit to consider that, especially if we're acquiring right-of-way for all that.
Sure.
Is that it?
That's it. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome. Okay, continue, please.
All right. The next project on my list is the number 5, the Lakewood Driveway. And we also complete that project. We are in the process of getting the project accepted by the state, and that's off our list. We talked about the 35th Street project is same as the 67th. We have phased that street down. 35th Street, overall improvements, including the right-of-way. And then also we have 35th Street Phase 1 between 67th Avenue West and Bridgeport Way. And the 35th Street Phase 2 is from Bridgeport to Grandview. And when you look at this overall project, we have the 35th Street improvements. Right-of-way work is underway. And the Phase 1 portion of it is almost complete. Actually, we are in the process of going out to bid for the project and hope to be under construction sometimes this summer with the 35th Street Phase 1 project. And the second phase of the 35th Street project is the one Phase 2 between the Bridgeport Way and the Grandview. And we hope to be going out to bid early next year and hope to be under construction in 2024. The next project on our list is the 70th Avenue Phase 2. This is the project we started 6-7 years ago. We were able to complete the west side of the street. And with this project, we will be finishing up the project on the east side from 19th Street to 27th Street West. And we are looking at the design in 2025 and hope to be under construction in 2026. And the other project in the 2025 year range is the 67th Avenue Phase 3. This is the complete the rest of the project from 44th to Cirque. And then another project we are looking at in 2 to 3 years is the Cirque Drive overlay. These are all PSRC funded projects. The Cirque Drive overlay is between 67th Avenue to South Orchard. And this is going to take, the construction is going to take place in 2026 as well. And then another project in the pipeline is 40th Street Phase 3 project. This is the project between Drexler to 67th Avenue. The PE, the design is going to be in 2025, and the construction to be in 2026. And we also have some sewer project along 67th Avenue. And then also on the, 57th Avenue sewer. And those are in work. Right now, we are in the process of getting all the permitting done through the Pierce County and also working on the environmental. And the project number 15 on my list is the Homestead Park. We are also working on the environmental and going out to bid this summer. This is going to be the summer of 2023 project. We have Cirque Park Trail project, which we had this bid award in our consent agenda. We just completed the bid opening. We hope to be under construction summer of this year, 2023. And along with the Cirque Park Trail, we have skate park and the playground projects. Skate park is going to be as simple as just redoing the ramps and maintaining the park. It's going to be somewhere in fall 2023. As far as the playground goes, we are in contact with the Inclusive Ground Group. We are just ready to proceed. We hope to get together sometime this summer. And then the last project I want to touch base is the 37th Street Court West. This is another project we brought to your consideration tonight for the bid award. We just had this bid open 2 weeks ago. and we hope to be under construction with this project in summer of 2023. And I believe I covered all of the projects in my list and also on the map. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Council, we normally don't have a Q&A and doing the presentations, but because we have a short agenda today, I'd like to open it up for some short questions and answers as well. And maybe we can, maybe for anybody that does have any. And before I come back to you, sir, any other council members? None here?
Let me think about it.
Okay. Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yuri, thank you for that update and presentation. Back to 37th Street Court West, that's that cut through off of Bridgeport Way, is it not, where the new apartment complex is going?
That's on this side. It's just the Homestead Park, right on the north side of Homestead Park, connecting Drexler to Bridgeport. Just
the
like
north
our
side.
old
Got it.
village. That
Got
makes
it.
sense?
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
I don't have any questions then. Thank you.
Okay. I do have one, and item number 12 on the asphalt overlay. What's the funding on that? Is that a grant?
That's a grant. There's a preservation grant from PSRC.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Okay. Will you, in the future, this is really good information, but maybe a column that says, the money source?
Sure.
Kind of reminds us, where that comes from. I almost forgot that because we pay for our asphalt out of our TBD and as well as some other funding. So that was a great preservation grant that we received. How much was that?
I believe it's around $450,000 because there's a cap to
Right. And
preservation.
so
It's like $750,000.
does that cover the entire asphalt for that length?
That's
leg?
correct. Yes.
It does.
It
So
does.
great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Uh,
Councilmember Keel.
Councilmember Keel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nuri, thank you for the presentation. I did, the Mayor Pro Tem jogged my memory about some work that we were doing a few years ago with our TBD dollars. And I recall that we talked about laying out a plan to overlay all the streets in UP or some big number of them. Can you talk about that plan? I mean, are we still on that plan? Did we deviate from it? Kind of, where are we with that? Does that ring any bells?
If you, Councilmember Keel, because that's a whole different set of what was presented, I'd like to, unless you can answer that in a very short period, if not, maybe you can bring it forward to our next meeting.
We'll have to bring it forward next time too. I can just get a little bit more information. Yes, our goal is to be able to pave all our streets who are suffering all the, pavement failures. But we do have a set aside for asphalt, the roadway preservations, but we would like to get PSRC funds, which is free money, pretty much.
So,
So let me follow up question real quick. So what I'm asking is not a part of the CIP. Is it some other? It's not a capital project, or is this more maintenance, O&M?
Oh, this is a capital improvements project. This is a capital project.
Okay, so the repaving of the streets every year is a capital project.
Well, no, it's not repaving. We do have a program for maintenance, like the slurry sealants or chip sealants. That's part of the maintenance program for the streets. These
Okay.
projects are the capital improvements. This is basically overall redoing the entire street.
Right,
From
yes. So
south
what
to-
you were presenting, yes, I got what you were presenting with capital. I was just
These
wondering,
are the capital.
what I was asking about, it sounds like it's probably maintenance then. Okay, and if it is, I apologize for the question. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
you're welcome, man. I think that's a good one, Councilmember Keel. So, City Manager, Mr. Sugg, if you don't mind, if it's okay with you in the future, whatever you and the mayor can allocate some time to just have a presentation on the latest TBD maintenance of the roads? You know, just to kind of brief us.
Yes, our pavement management program.
Sure.
Certainly,
Okay.
we'd love to give you an update on that one. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Hear none? Thank you so much for this. This is very good. And again, just in the future, maybe the funding source would really be nice to know where
Sure,
that is.
we'll let that
And if
come.
there's a match, you know, what are we matching?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sugg, anybody else? Any other
That
comments?
concludes the engineering project. So now I would like to move on to development services. Our Community and Economic Development Department is managing the permitting and inspection of multiple projects that are currently underway. And tonight I'm going to be highlighting 6 projects that are currently in some phase of development. So a map is going to come up on your screen that will, and we'll start at the northeast part of our city, formerly known as, well, still known, I guess, as the Narrows Plaza, or at least a portion thereof. It's where the theater was at one time, and it closed down for many, many years, and is being replaced with a multifamily project, including market rate apartments. And that project is known as the Alta at Narrows Urban Village. So this is where the Galaxy Theater and the Narrows Bowling Center were, and those two facilities are no longer, and Narrows Urban Village project is currently under construction, and you can see that as you drive by on Mildred. It's 274 market rate apartment units or residential units, 9 buildings. It includes road improvements, including the completion of the 22nd Street through connection, which we've desired for a very long time. And partial completion is expected for this 9-unit project in the fall of this year, 2023. Full completion by early 2024 of the 9 buildings. So it's a very large development. Again, 274 market rate residential units in 9 separate buildings. This is one that council insisted upon a street grid. The street grid is being installed by the developer of that project, so that to promote walkability and circulation. So that's Alta at Narrows Urban Village, and let me move. We're going to move from north to south. What's not on the map is on Grandview Drive, the corner of Grandview and 27th. I know the council knows about that. I think we have a photo of you that we've shown with sledgehammers during the demo of the previous Red Apple Plaza buildings that were closed down. That demo is complete. As part of that site, or just adjacent to that site, is what is called the Grandview Plaza project. Phase 1 of it is at the corner of 27th and Grandview. That was to go first, but it's still in litigation because there's soil contamination. And I think we've reported on this previously. That is yet to be resolved. So the developer of that project, of that corner, has decided to move on phase 2 of their project, which is directly across the street from the senior center. So it's directly north of where Grandview Plaza phase 1 will be. Phase 2 is 194 affordable senior housing units. And it's 2 buildings that will be built there. Currently, our city staff are reviewing the design review and the SEPA application for that. Okay, now moving further south, just south of 40th Street, as you head south on the right-hand side is at 4020 Bridgeport Way, Chipotle and Habit Burger. It's a 2-building development. Chipotle is now open. Habit Burger will be open in June of this year. Again, it's very evident. We insisted on design standards. We insisted on street fronting buildings with the parking lot to the back, so mostly hidden from view. And we think that the Chipotle, is well-designed and has windows to the street, and seems to be very popular and doing well. Now, moving across the street from Chipotle a little bit further south, on the other side of the street is 4201 Bridgeport. It's 104 market rate units in 2 buildings. That's a multi-story, I believe it's 4 stories fronting Bridgeport Way. And then there's a building behind that, another 4-story building. Those 2 buildings combined will have 104 market rate units. The ground floor of that building facing Bridgeport has space that can be ultimately put to use as commercial space, but it's going to be used for non-residential unit uses in the interim. There also, that developer of that 4201 Bridgeport project is building the 42nd Street and will be dedicating that street to the city. So it'll be for public use. Ultimately, that'll connect to Drexler Extension, which will head south to connect into it. So we'll have circulation. This is a long time goal of the city council and the city to promote street circulation within the town center so that we have roads other than Bridgeport Way in which people can move about in a north-south direction. And that allows for a workaround at congested points. 40th and Bridgeport happens to be one of our highest volume intersections, so this will help provide some relief to that intersection. Again, we'll continue south. In the Fred Meyer area, located directly behind Fred Meyer on the north side of Fred Meyer off of 67th Street, is a project called Grand Ridge Apartments. It's 48 market rate units within 4 buildings. Site work, you'll see site work underway if you drive by on 67th and look to the right as you're heading down the hill. Site work began 2 months ago. Building construction will begin within the next several months, and completion is expected in early 2024. And the 6th and final project, our southerlymost project, is on Orchard Street on the east side of Orchard. It's called Legacy University Place Apartments. 240 market rate apartments located in 11 buildings. Construction is to begin in late spring or early summer. It's a 24-month completion. Again, construction late spring or early summer for that. So that's an update on those 6 projects that are in one phase of development or another that are either under construction or soon to be under construction. So before I move on to my next topic, which is legislative update, let me just stop there and see if there's Mayor Pro Tem or council members, if there's any questions on any of that material.
Thank you for that offer, and I'll extend it to council members. Hearing none.
Okay. All right, and the third and final topic for tonight is an update on the 2023 legislative session that we've been tracking in Olympia. Tomorrow will be an important milestone in Olympia, as any bill with a fiscal impact will need to pass out of committee and be read into the record on the chamber's floor. Next Wednesday, all policy bills, that is non-budget bills, must be passed in both chambers or they are dead for this session. Just a note, April 23rd is the last day for the regular session under our state constitution. So that's when business needs to conclude, all business. So now on to specific bills that as a city we are interested in and we are tracking closely. In the area of housing, there are several bills, and I know council is familiar with some of these, but let me just go over those. House Bill 1110, as applied to University Place, the current House Bill 1110 requires the city to allow 2 units on every lot zoned primarily for residential use, or 4 units if at least 1 unit is dedicated for 50 years for affordable housing. The bill has restrictions on design and environmental regulations and review. That's House Bill 1110. Again, these are currently, and just please note that there's still time for these things to be amended or to, to not even move forward. So I'm just reporting on what's still alive down there. House Bill, another set of housing bills, House Bill 1245 and a companion Senate Bill 5364. These are the bills related to lot splitting. They have not moved forward and they're dead for the session. So I wanted to let you know about that because we've reported on that previously. I think Kevin Brisky, our Community and Economic Development Director, reported on that last month. Third housing bill is House Bill 1337. This relates to accessory dwelling units, ADUs. The current bill states that cities must allow 2 ADUs of up to 1,000 square feet on single-family lots. The city cannot restrict the rental of an ADU to those lots that have an owner-occupied unit. The bill includes several exceptions. For example, the city can mandate connection to sewers. The city can prohibit short-term rentals. The city can apply setback requirements, tree retention, and other restrictions that apply to the primary residence. So we do have some controls that are allowed under state law. The other thing of note we wanted to let you know about is that an ADU can be sold as a condominium under this legislation.
Wow.
Again, that is House Bill 1337, and we'll see where that, how that progresses. Another ADU bill on the Senate side is Senate Bill 5235. This bill is similar to House Bill 1337, but there are differences. We'll have to wait and see if both bills pass or if there's some reconciliation. All right, before I move on to public safety legislation in Olympia, let me just stop right there and see if there's any questions from council related to the bills on housing. And I may ask our city attorney to assist me because he is doing daily tracking on many of these bills. So, so let me just stop on the housing bills.
Any council members have any questions or clarifications? Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. May I, just a quick education in 15 seconds or less. ADUs that can be sold as condominiums, if they're built on a single lot, how do they do that?
I imagine that they're probably envisioning something along the lines of a zero lot line condominiumization, where you sell, here is the building and the dirt associated either with or around it. And that's your 15-second version. I'll stop myself there.
Okay. So do they have to split the lot then to make that happen, or is it just the building?
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things that Steve shared is stay tuned because the legislature still got 3-4 weeks to get these things across the finish line. There's going to be a lot of unanswered questions, and along the line of what you're talking about is probably going to be one of those unanswered questions or things that they're going to have to figure out here real quick. How does this look for local jurisdictions on the ground?
All right. Because that does affect us.
Yeah. Well, and it's not just the local jurisdictions, it's prospective purchasers. What do I own and how do I own it?
Right. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
I do.
Oh, Councilmember Wood.
Just a quick question. I think I already know the answer to this one, but did it say anything about parking requirements or mandates that cities can use or not use?
Depends on which version of the bill you're looking at.
Okay.
And I will tell you, some of them are changing hourly, quite literally. 1110 saw committee action sometime in the last hour, 2 hours in the Senate Ways and Means Committee. So with the big striker amendment, so still going through that. But parking minimums have been a focus of the legislature. And whether local jurisdictions can impose parking minimums, and if so, under what conditions.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing none?
Mr. Mayor, Council.
Councilman Husky and I do have questions. She's
Oh.
first.
So, Councilmember McCluskey.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I too have several questions on the condominium bill that with the ADU. Are wondering if they're going to have to redefine what a condominium is in regards to that, and because it's usually from the interior walls in, and then creating an association with just one ADU unit. It's,
A lot of unanswered.
anyway,
I-
that's kind of I'm going to just let that question rise and see what happens to this bill, because probably, Mr. Kaiser, you don't know the answer to that yet.
I don't know the answer to that one yet, and your guess is as good as mine in terms of how they're going to actually end up making it work. And what you described is probably the most popular version of the condominium, where the individual owner owns from studs in and an association owns studs out. But they do take other forms and flavors.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Keel.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. On 1110, I know that AWC has been working a lot on that bill in particular, all of them, but that one in particular. And there were a number of changes. I'm just curious to know if we as a city, how we align with those changes that AWC is getting. Is it something we're finding is beneficial to us? If not, what would be more beneficial? And then the last point that I would make is that anything that we have on any of these bills, particularly like this ADU, I think having a conversation with AWC to help with them understanding our perspective and what we might need, that would be helpful too as well.
Yeah, I can certainly say with respect to 1110, we've had a number of internal conversations, and I know we've had conversations with some external entities regarding 1110 and how we're going to ultimately end up managing it. I think part of the challenge is because 1110 itself seems to be a moving target. There appears to have been an amendment just as of even earlier this evening. There were amendments just in the recent history, just recently. So what we're seeing is, as we're having these discussions and other jurisdictions are having these discussions, we are seeing amendments. Some of the amendments are good. Some of the amendments are bad. But one of the things that we are discussing internally, and hopefully we'll have more, particularly when the dust settles, is how do we as a city, what's the path moving forward, recognizing that something along the lines of 1110 or other companion housing legislation will likely pass. We're working at least on the assumption that something's going to pass. And then how do we as a city move forward in light of the new legislation that we're going to see in the 2023 legislative session?
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? I believe that there's more questions than answers, and at the end, there will still be more questions than answers, and it's going to take several years and maybe even more legislation to clear it up, because those are just preliminary questions. I have questions like how our citizens that want to deal with this, who are they going to call? The city that doesn't have any authority in what just happened? Is it going to be the state? Property taxes with the assessor, property insurance, how they insure properties is really their ball game, and I know enough to be dangerous, but that becomes an issue. So anyway, it's going to be, I think at some point when this is all, the dust settles, is to hopefully we can have a study session to really pound this down to being able to understand how this really impacts us as government as well as our citizens. Thank you, Mr. Sugg. Anything else?
A couple two more topics. One is public safety. The other one is REIT, real estate excise tax. So on public safety, there's two items. The Blake decision, there's Senate Bill 5536 was passed the Senate and a House committee. It's now in House Appropriations and scheduled for committee action tomorrow. The bill makes possession of a controlled substance a gross misdemeanor. It encourages referrals to drug treatment and rather than jail booking and prosecution. So there's more details to that, but let me just skip down. There's no funding or reimbursement to cities to cover the cost of prosecution and incarceration, so that's unfortunate. Historically, drug possession has been a felony and all costs were absorbed by the county and the state. Now cities must take on these cases because they are gross misdemeanors. Now, the House has proposed some amendments. It would lower the penalty from a gross misdemeanor to a misdemeanor, and it would prohibit local jurisdictions from enacting their own ordinances for drug possession, paraphernalia, or use in public. So that's a proposed House amendment, or several amendments. Those House amendments might create more arrests but less treatment. Misdemeanor offenses have very little jail time, so offenders will likely just serve 2-3 days in jail and disregard the option of treatment to avoid conviction. So we're watching that one very closely. So, we'll have more information. Let's just see where this thing goes. Now let's move on to vehicle pursuits. Senate Bill 5352 passed the Senate and a relevant House committee. It's now in House Rules. The bill moves back to reasonable suspicion as the evidentiary standard for initiating a pursuit. Remember, it was probable cause. Now they've moved it back, which is to reasonable suspicion. It still limits the offenses authorized for a pursuit to specific violent crimes, sexual assaults, and DUI, but it also adds vehicular assault and all DV, domestic violence assaults. It still leaves out property crimes and other crimes of concern, so no pursuits for those items. The executive director of WASPIC, which is the Association of State Police Chiefs, said that we support the bill as certainly being better than the current law, but insufficient and may not reduce the, quote, get out of jail free card dynamic that fleeing law enforcement has become. So we're very interested in those public safety bills that are going through both the Senate and the House. Now on to reflexibility. We talked about that before, a session or two ago. The legislature provided flexibility in how real estate excise tax could be used. House Bill 1628 was going to extend that, but it has not moved forward and is dead for the session. So, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, that is my report for tonight.
We have a question for you from Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
So a quick question on the, and this may go to Mr. Kaiser. The vehicle pursuit, understand reasonable suspicion, property crime. Is a stolen vehicle considered a property crime? Okay, I'm getting a nod from the police chief over there.
Yeah, if the police chief says yes, I'll defer.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is the issue of criminals stealing vehicles to commit crimes so that they can't be pursued is this will not be solved by this particular bill.
Correct.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Good question. Thank you. Anyone else? Hear none. So the next, and you're done, right, Mr. Sag?
That concludes my report, Mayor Pro Tem.
Very nice. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. We'll go with the council comments now, and I'll start with Councilmember Keel.
Mayor Pro Tem, we've only got 2 minutes before we have to extend the meeting.
Oh, yes. Would you make a motion, Councilmember Wood?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to extend the meeting until 7:30.
I have a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of extending the meeting to 7:30, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. So 7:30. So moving on, Councilmember Keel.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I have probably a necessary extended report if I could get everything to work here. I'm trying to share my screen. Let's see. I thought I could do this. And I cannot do this. So, but anyway, I sent a report. As you guys know, I was able to go to the National League of Cities this past week, and I did send a copy. Hopefully, the city clerk gave you guys a copy of a lot of the documents that I'm talking about now. I wish I could share them on my screen today. Usually, with two screens, you can hit share, and then the other screen will pop up, but somehow that's not working for me right now. The first document that I did share with you is Information Technology Communications committee. As you all may know, I happen to be the chair of that national committee. And what I gave to council members is the agenda for that committee meeting. It has all of the things that we went through there. Meeting it was on Saturday. It started at 1 p.m. It went for 2 hours. One of the keynotes there was a person that we may all recall, Kim Wyman, who is the senior elections security advisor on the president's cabinet. And she, as you all know, she used to be our Secretary of State. Now she's in D.C. In that role. And so it was great to reconnect with her and have her give her presentation to my committee at that national conference. So that was really, really good. The other thing that I did while I was there too, as well, was well, before I go to that, one of the things that the committee is working on, there are basically 5 goals, national goals that we have for technology for all the cities and towns and villages in the country. The first goal is for us to really work with the federal government to continue ARPA. That, as you guys know, is a great tool, funding coming from the feds that will allow cities to do the infrastructure work that they need that's been going unmet. One of the things our committee is really focusing on using those ARPA dollars to help build out broadband within the cities. The second goal that we talked about is similar to the first. There's another set of funding that's called Affordable Connectivity Program, the Affordable Connectivity Program. And that really program is providing dollars for underserved and mostly minority populations that have not been connected to the network because of funding and problems. And so this Affordable Connectivity Program requires providers to keep their costs low for people that do qualify under this program. So goal 2 is focused on us working with the FCC to keep this program in place. The third goal talks about cybersecurity. I don't need to explain a lot of that I think everyone gets that when you're online, there's a lot of bad actors out there, nation states that are attacking companies and governments and people and businesses within the United States. And so we really want to continue a robust focus on cybersecurity at the national level. Our fourth goal really is talking about expanding local communications authority. Basically, a lot of cities have the ability to build their own networks and operate their networks, but the cable companies and other places have now a real strong lobby that have blocked some of the authority that cities can have when it comes to running their own networks. So we want to, goal 4 is for us to work with the federal government to lift those bans and allow cities to do what they need to do so that they can actually operate a broadband as a utility, which is what it really is now in this day and age. And so there's just a lot of work going on within. And the last goal, the 5th goal, is actually a goal that I brought as chair to this group. And that is really working with cities and the federal government to allow and require these developers and the industry players to actually require them to give homes and businesses two-way broadband. If you might notice, a lot of these companies will give you broadband to your house. Vis-a-vis, they'll sell you Netflix and movies all day long and give you the bandwidth to download those movies and watch them. But it's very difficult. And it came out really acutely during the pandemic, when if you've got 2 parents working from home and kids trying to do homework from home, and you're trying to upload stuff from your house to get to where it needs to go to. A lot of times those things were all at a full stop or very slow because those providers didn't give homes the ability to have broad enough band, I'll put it that way, to upload from their home. So those are 5 goals that we're working on, and we're eyeball deep into all of that, and I can talk more about that a little bit later on. The other thing that I worked on there while I was there too as well was that I had the privilege of actually hosting a panel discussion, again, around broadband and around Goal 5, which was how do we model this broadband leaving the home going up to the internet. And so I was privileged to have people from the FCC and people from NTIA, as well as the mayor from a city out of Oregon that actually owns their own cable company. And it was really a fireside chat, room full of people, a couple hundred people, a little over 100 people in the room, council members and mayors and industry folks, where we had this discussion and asked questions. So I thought it was people said it was very informal and very informative for them as they did that. The last thing I wish I could share is I've got this picture that I cannot share. I'm really sad about it, but it's a picture of all of the council members right after our White House briefing. So it's a group of us that are standing on the steps, and our NLC president, Mayor Wooders from Tacoma, is there with some other folks and myself and a lot of the council members around, just taking a photo right after our briefing in the White House. So it was a great, informative meeting. We asked some tough questions. I think that this White House is very much focused on delivering what people need in real terms at the local level. And I would just encourage us as a city to continue to leverage that as much as we can. The last point I'll make is I was there, and when I introduced myself, I made sure that I said council member from University Place. And of course, the next question I always got is, where's University Place? And so it was great for me, and I felt really good explaining to people where we were, how many people we have in our city. And everyone was surprised, when I said, oh yeah, we got, 34,900 people in the last census. And their eyes just got really big and shocked because they thought it was going to be some, 2,000 or 3,000, resident city. And when it wasn't, I think they were a little bit more impressed about the size of our city and what we're doing. So with that, I'll conclude my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Keel. Let's see, next is Councilmember Wood.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. My comments tonight, I'd just like to draw attention to the upcoming public safety levy that we have here in University Place. The official levy date is the 25th of April, but you should see ballots coming into your mailbox sometime within the next week, I believe. I want to say April 8th, but give or take a day or two. There is a lot of great information on the city website as far as just basic facts, why this levy is out there and supporting and what our current police and public safety capabilities are. That's at cityofup.com. And I would like to remind my fellow citizens of a few basic facts. I'll keep it short. First, University Place has the lowest police to citizen ratio in the state, and it's not even close. Vehicle thefts have gone up 396% in our city since 2017. Property crime is up 36%. And while I don't have statistics, I think just about everybody who is listening and can describe an experience where they saw, witnessed, or experienced somebody being a dangerous driver around them. And the reality is our current police force is not sized or equipped to do much, if anything, about that. And for those reasons, I'd strongly encourage all our fellow citizens to support this levy. Take the time to research it, make yourself smart on it, as far as looking at the websites for the basic facts, and get out there and vote. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Councilmember Wood. Councilmember McCluskey.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no council comments this evening. Everyone enjoy the spring break, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys in a couple weeks.
Thank you. Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just really quick reminder for folks to sign up for our first annual cleanup here in University Place on Earth Day, April 22nd. And that's it, short.
That was. Thank you, Councilmember Fleming. And for my comments, first of all, I've been called mayor a few times, and I just want to make sure publicly nothing happened to our Mayor Worthington. He is alive and well. He's just not here today.
You are the acting
And
mayor.
that being said, it's an honor to represent him at the diocese here, and I hope when he uses this tape that it'll give me a A+ grade.
You are the acting mayor, though.
So that being said, is the Puget Sound Regional Council. I've emailed it to the council members and some city staff as to the latest meetings and what's going on. Please, there is a PSRC General Assembly in May. They are going to do it in person as a luncheon. I do really like to see our council members show and show UP strong to considering the fact that we really do well with PSRC funding. So I think that it would be nice if more than myself would show up. If you have time, I really would appreciate that. Next is, I'd like to let everybody know that I took the time from my schedule to attend. I will be joining the Chamber of Commerce Washington to Washington, D.C. trip this month, and then I'll give a report on what I can find for us to bring value to our city in the May meetings. And lastly is Mr. Keel. There are great expectations of you as a chair. And the expectation is, since you know everybody knows it's only 1 year as a chair, and so you're the man. So that being said, by the end of your term, the end of this year, we expect broadband for uploading to be in full force in Washington State. Okay, that's the expectation. That's the goal for you. So that being, go ahead.
Okay.
I think that's really important what you're working on, especially the uploading. And I think that if, hopefully you can accomplish that. That would be a big feather on not just yourself, our city, but our state and across the country. So other than that, I do agree with Councilmember Wood. Please vote. It's important that everybody votes in this voting month. So with that, I don't have any other comments, and we're at the end here, just on time. So may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any objections? Hearing none, meeting is adjourned.